But that's exactly it. I mean, but it is a mindset. It's an abundance mindset versus a scarcity mindset, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we all grew up with this notion of school of hard knocks, and we all grew up with, I grew up working in an industry where chefs zinged a ramekin at my head, in this kind of this Hell's Kitchen, that type of environment that makes for good TV, but it's not really it's pretty toxic kind of environment, and it's already a tough environment, right? I mean, I remember when we first ran our ad for, Swift's Attic, Chef and I were like, what should be our title being? And our title was like, do you like to play with knives and fire? And that was like kind of our ad to call for action for chefs, and it was one of those things where, it doesn't have to be that way. And you recognize that people are trying to make it up in this world, and there's an apprenticeship aspect of it to it. And there is some things about steel sharpening steel. There is a part about being forged and getting hard enough to deal with this and understanding that it shouldn't be made easy for you, but that doesn't mean you should be actively their opposition in a way either. I think that there's a difference between this mentality of particularly like maybe a chef that immediately judges you upon meeting you that you are not ready and you'll never be ready, and that your job is to break through this barrier and they're the barrier, as opposed to maybe a chef that has this standard of excellence that you're looking for, or a server, a bar owner, restaurant owner, whatever, that has the standard of excellence that says, no, I absolutely think you can do this, but I won't settle for less than that. And it's not going to be easy for you, but if you want to do this, I will help you do it. And it's just one of those things. I think there's a slight, very subtle, nuanced difference between intentional opposition and kind of critical resistance that creates strength, creates power, creates longevity, or whatever you want to say.
This episode made possible by Restaurant Systems Pro. With excitement, allow me to introduce to you today's guest, founder of Chintertainment, CK Chin. My man, CK, are you feeling unstoppable today?
Man, no, I'm feeling. Well, you know what? I take that back. It's not about feeling unstoppable. I think that I'm not willing to stop. How about that?
Can't
you know
stop,
what I mean?
won't stop.
Can't stop, won't stop.
Yeah.
To me, it's not about feeling unstoppable, because I'm a kind of a realist and a bit of a cynic, and so I think that it's not about me being so, but it just means not doing so.
Choosing to keep going.
I
love that, man. Yeah. It's a choice at the end of the day, isn't it?
100%. Everything.
So you're here sitting across the table from me, obviously because of the career you've had up to this point. Shout out to Jason Carrier, who referred you to me. He had amazing things to say about you. I was very tempted to watch your Joe Rogan episode, but I knew I would know way too much, and I wanted to go into this with a clean slate. But I'm looking forward to listening to that episode when I am wrapped up with you. I can't wait to dive in to figure out who you are and how you got to where you are today. But let's get that motivational, inspirational ball rolling with a success quote or mantra. What do you got for us?
I got two. The mantra that I have, similar to what we just talked about, I actually have it on my desk in a little marquee that I got. It's interesting because I had to limit the number of letters that fit on there, because it was just something I got as a white elephant gift. And it's a little marquee. And it says, do your best and then do better.
Do your best and then do better. Dive into how that resonates with you and what you draw from that.
And the second quote is what reminds me of that is I say this to my children. I say this to my clients. I say this to my employees all the time, is how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Did you ever read that book by Brian Tracy, Eat That Frog?
Yeah.
Great book.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. And, and so for me, it's like, it's not about getting it perfect. It's about progress, and it's not about necessarily coming out of the gates and hitting a home run every time you swing. It's just the fact that you kind of you're playing against yourself mostly. I think you are your biggest kind of cheerleader and your biggest opponent, and at the end of the day, the reminder of thinking about what you have to do is you and yours alone in a way, but the effects of it, the ripples affect everybody else in a way, and so for me, it's like recognizing that, hey man, if I didn't do my best that day, that's where I start. Let's just fix that first.
Right.
And whatever it is and whatever I did, it kind of resets, right? I did fantastic the day before, but then 2 days later, I actually did pretty poorly or whatever it is. But that just reset that bar, and I just got to do better than that tomorrow.
Right.
And so this constant idea of growth and this stair-stepping idea of not necessarily looking at where your personal record might have been, but look at it just kind of as a progress and saying, hey, we slipped back a few steps, but hey, I don't have to get back to there again. I just have to get better than what I just did.
It's not, it's over time, right?
Always.
Like there's peaks and valleys. If you're in the game of being an entrepreneur or a restaurateur, you're taking shots daily. Sometimes that shot might hit you in the foot.
Yeah.
And you might stumble a little bit, but it heals. You learn from it. Don't point the gun at your foot when you're cocking, filling the chamber,
100%.
You learn these lessons as you go.
That's right.
And there's 2 books I started listening to when I started this year, and your words are resonating with me. And it's easier said than done to do what you've done, right? To show up every day a better version of yourself. Conceptually, I can do that. But to do it every day, to have a focus and a goal, and to a personal goal, like of getting better, right? And a destination, like that's hard to show up every day and work towards that. Brian Tracy, Eat That Frog, right? Great book. And then another one, The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. I listened to those books, one a week, or actually both of them, they're only 2 hours long on audio. So I listened to them back to back for the first 2 months of the year, just to kind of like
reset,
just like, just to kind of like stay focused. Like, where am I trying to go? Like the compound effect, like just keep showing up, trying to be better. And over time it compounds, it gets there. They're great resources.
And I don't even remember who said this to me. It was a mentor when I was in probably elementary school. But it still resonated with me, was this notion of kind of this some level of doing, trying to do your best. And it was the illustration that they gave me was, to imagine setting a goal or something, of doing something at your highest level for like a year, and it just seems impossible. And then you're like, well, how about if you try to do it for like a month, and it seems tough, and then, well, how about a week, and how about a day? And even at a day, you're like, man, if I did the whole day and I didn't fail one time, like how hard? And then all the way down to, he goes, well, what about like a moment? Like, what about a second? Could you do this for a second? Can you just be at your best for a second? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, well, then just live it second by second. Just live every second.
Yeah. Darren Hardy talks about that in the book. The analogy he uses, when you're crossing a desert, they go barrel by barrel. Yeah. You're not crossing the desert, you're getting to that barrel. Yeah. When you're going for a run, you're not getting to the 5 mile mark, you're getting to the mailbox.
That's right.
Like, I can get there, and it just eventually you get there, man. Great way to get this thing started, man. So paint the picture. Where is what's your portfolio today? What is CK Chin doing today?
It's that dad life right now. I've got 2 young kids and a 12-year-old. That's awesome. Who's been wonderful. It's been a dream of mine, and ironically, this industry is not necessarily conducive for that kind of family you end up working, especially, entrepreneurship on top of just the hospitality industry in general. The pandemic forced that upon me, where we all of a sudden, had to make the time to figure out, you kind of contemplate your navel a little bit and not go to work. And that was when I met my now wife. Actually, we had met each other a decade prior, but never got together because of exactly what I'm talking about. And we actually just made the time while I had time. And then from then it just progressed, and now, blessed with a beautiful family.
So 3 children, beautiful wife.
Children. Yeah.
How many restaurants do you own today?
So we're sitting in Swift's attic. So I founded this one almost 13 years ago now. Wu Chow downtown. We founded that one in 2014, 15, if I remember correctly. It's so hard to say, because when it was a glimmer in our eye, and compared to when construction was finished, it kind of the joke at Wu Chow was always that we were the most anticipated restaurant of, I believe,
the decade
of 2015 and 2016 because we crossed over and didn't make the cutoff. Toshokan, my omakase sushi bar on inside the speakeasy inside the Holy Moly Pud Golf. And then we are building the Hope Outdoor Gallery, which is a community center and art park out by the airport, which is going to be to service Austin arts and to fund art programs for young kids and artists in Austin. I do pretty much at this point full-time consulting work is what I do for my paycheck. Really.
Okay. So in terms of like all those things that you mentioned, you're a part of 3 restaurants. You have your consulting firm, and then is the Hope Gallery, is that more philanthropic or?
I'd like to call it a disruption on how philanthropy actually works.
Okay,
We have the Hope stands for helping other people everywhere. It started with the graffiti park that was down here in Austin off of Lamar, off of Baylor Street, down off 11th and Baylor Street. And it was the foundation of a kind of a condo project that was there. It just had a bunch of walls left over. My business partner, Andy, took it upon herself, because she's one of the most creative people on the planet, and decided to execute that into this graffiti park. And it just lived and grew and thrived as a nonprofit there for 10 years. And we really kind of thought of this kind of notion that arts shouldn't be a charity. Art should be able to eat what it kills. It shouldn't be a situation where we have to beg for money.
It always is a nonprofit. That's why I didn't even think twice about asking or assuming it was.
Yeah, and so the notion is to how do we let arts and art programs be free to consume for the people, and also let it self-sustain? And the answer is hospitality and food and bev. And so the what we came up with is some level of almost like the amusement park, or some sort of experiential base, meaning if I get you there to view these artists' art and these beautiful things that they've created, and have a space for you, it's a park, so it functions like a park that you can come out and bring your dogs and your family, go have a picnic there, or whatever it is, or grab a can of spray paint and paint yourself or something. We have this opportunity to go there. All I got to do is get you a bottle of water and a sandwich and a beer, and that's how the place can actually fund itself, in that way. So, it's kind of part of this driven, where I'm at as an entrepreneur, is this conscious capitalism thought process, which is saying that every industry that exists in the world has this ecosystem around them of people that need, and people that can contribute, that people that do contribute, and you should take it upon yourself to assist and help those ancillary or supplementary or complementary industries that help you, and especially those that have more need. And so it's kind of like the notion that I jokingly always called for, like, saying that, well, it should be required that bars and restaurants, the taxes that we pay should let the buses run till 6 a.m, because, or they should have ride share free, because we pay these taxes and our dollars that go from making money off of selling alcohol that inebriates people. Look
at Europe. I feel like
we should
England,
help out.
Like, they have such a low drinking and driving rate, and they don't. I think a lot of it has to do with the really strict laws, right? Yeah. Maybe that would help.
Yeah.
Maybe that would help us earn some money if people wanted to roll the dice on drinking and driving.
For sure.
Go put it back into the public transportation system. But something you said that really resonates with me is this idea that there are people in every community that are able and willing to help and to contribute and to give them that opportunity. And to really, the most successful restaurateurs are about, they know that their job is to create opportunity for others, and that they focus on the 20% or the 10% or the 5% of the things that they love to do. And they realize that if they can focus on that and surround themselves and pull people up with them, that's where that's the magic sauce right there. You said something else that really resonated with me too. And it's that, that you're going to, how do we get away from this philanthropic or just like a nonprofit world and with art, but that food and beverage is the answer. Hospitality is the answer. I truly think that food and beverage and hospitality is the answer to literally everything.
It is the fundamental. Okay, let me tell you this.
It's a stretch, but I
don't think it's that much of a stretch, because I think people understand it, right?
What do you think when I say that?
So I agree with you, because this is what made me think about this. I've watched it happen in Austin, unfortunately, twice in the last 5 years, which is obviously with the pandemic, and secondly with our freeze, the Texas freeze. I don't know if you saw about that a couple years back,
No.
where our power grid failed.
Oh wait, there was an ice storm or something?
Yeah,
like
giant
that?
ice storm.
Yeah. God forbid it snows an inch in Texas.
Well,
you guys don't have the facilities.
Well, this one was not even that.
It was bad. I heard about
it. Yeah, like millions of people lost power. But you watched our service industry, our hospitality industry, our food and beverage industry, the best of us, not everybody, but the best of us rallied together and switched seamlessly from a for-profit, we're doing this to make our living, to servicing the community and getting people fed. I mean, you're talking the same people, same chefs that people were paying, top dollar to have this high-end, super, experiential dining experience. We're figuring out how to get food into public school kids' mouths and bellies while schools were shut down.
Right.
I mean, you're talking that, a perfect example, you think about like World Central Kitchen, right? And you're talking about what they're doing, and they're going into disaster zone. And you have this Michelin star, this every award winning chef, Jose Andres, like that chef that is now in war zones and trying to get people fed and things. And so I've always said that that's the part that hit me the most as far as with the restaurant industry, is like, if you really zoom out and get rid of all the noise and get rid of the capitalistic aspect of making money, when I am sharing food with somebody, if you're talking about the certain things that you need, right, as a human, if we're like, okay, we need shelter, we need water, we need food, or community or whatever. When I share food with you, like, I'm literally saying, like, I want you to live. Like, if we were on a deserted island and I found some food and you didn't have food and I shared it with you, I'm extending both of our lives, and possibly at the detriment of mine, like, to be able to say, we'll both live longer, but I'll live less, you'll live more, and we're going to balance this out. And without it being so dramatic in that notion of me, like, literally trying to give you food so that, and I can survive less. But it is somewhere in the back of my head that I know that when my friends come into town or people come into town, and my instinct is to say, well, have you eaten yet? Can I, let's go get you some food, comes from a deeper rooted notion that this is a fundamental human need. And those of us that are blessed enough to be in the industry or have the talent to be able to do this for, at a certain level, it really makes people's lives better.
100%, dude. 100%. Like, you took it right where I was going to take it. Like, that is exactly why I think this industry, and if you look at, like, I'm a huge anthropology, like, nerd, man. Like, and if you look at human evolution over time, it's almost always in parallel track with our relationship to food. 100% all the time. Anytime we've made an advance in evolution or human progress, it's because our relationship with food changed. We figured out how to fucking cook that shit, right?
Yeah.
We figured that the scientific revolution centers around studying animals and figuring out, like, hypothesis, theory, that worked. Let's do it again. Let's figure out traps. Like, it all started with the scientific revolution. Chemistry, cooking, agriculture. Agriculture spurred art, to your point, right? And it was being able to produce food on a mass level to feed a lot of people, where we have mental power to create, right? And it brings the best out of people, because to what you said earlier, literally everybody has something to contribute. And the more food and hospitality, literally seeing people, loving them, giving them opportunity, helping them grow. It's all connected, dude. Yeah. And I think we have gotten so far away from food, our relationship with it, and how it's literally our hinging point to humanity. It's what makes us us, and it's going to form the future going forward.
I agree, and it is the closest to alchemy that exists.
I'm
right?
Buzzing right now.
You
bro.
know,
can you feel that? I'm sorry, alchemy.
Yeah, no, it's the closest to alchemy that happens.
What is the definition of alchemy?
Alchemy was my understanding was this kind of theory that you can take something worthless and make it very, very valuable, right? And so the concept, I believe, was originally stated that somebody could turn the theory that on a chemical level, on an elemental level, that you could take lead and turn it into gold, is, I believe, the origin of that kind of the notion of alchemy. But to me, is the notion that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. and I say this all the time to my staff, and on every tier, from dishwasher to head chef to server to bartender, everybody, is that you are playing a role, but when everybody Voltron forces together and forms this unit, we're greater than us we are apart, meaning we could hire robots and bring food to people's tables, and we can probably have some sort of replicatable way to duplicate this on a level that's more scalable or less labor or whatever, anything
Go
like that.
Go further together, man.
But what are we missing? It's you, and what's missing is service, and what's missing is the love or the attention to detail, and even the hostess and the smile that they greet, or the say the goodbye, and all that stuff contributes to somebody's experience. And from a chef perspective, it's to take these seemingly disjointed individual parts and putting them together in such a way that it's greater than it was before. And I think that there's just something very kind of beautiful about that. And, in the same way that music is or anything like that, it's like, yes, this thing, a melody is beautiful, but you add on a harmony and it becomes something different. And you add on something with a rhythm section and it becomes something different. And you feel it in different aspects of your body. And it's the same thing, I think, with food, is that, it quite literally, I don't know how many other things on this earth other than the air that we breathe, or sunlight shining, right, in, something like that. It's like you're inviting this stuff into your body,
right?
And so you're literally saying, well, here we go, and that is something that is very intimate and is very special. And I think that it's an honor for us to do that. I don't think we pay enough homage to it, as both consumers and as producers.
I have a relationship with Joe Pine, who's the author of The Experience Economy, and he's writing a new book called The Transformation Economy. And I reached out to him being like super stoked, had him on the show, talked about the Experience Economy. And then I was like, can't wait to get you on the show for the Transformation Economy. And he replied, like, how is the Transformation Economy connected to the restaurant industry? And I was like, it took me like a month to reply back to him, because I know I needed like 2 hours. Yeah, I was like, literally everything, man. Yeah. And it's all the stuff that we're saying right now, and there's transformative power in this industry. And I'm like, to your point with food, like, it's like what we're putting into our bodies, we're starting to realize that what we put into our bodies matters, and like it becomes
part. There's stuff that stays with us forever,
right? And we're starting to realize the ramifications of what happens, long-term decisions of how we eat. And there's a shift happening right now where the masses are getting on board with supporting a better food system, because it goes down to how the food is grown. That is it. If you follow the trail, it goes back to how are we getting food. And once people realize what's in it for me to support a broken food system, or to support fixing the broken food system, it's that part that's going to take the consumer to actually do something about it. And we've gotten there. People are starting to figure out, like, if I want to be healthier, if I don't want to have cancer, if I want to be able to work a day and not get tired, like, it all starts with what I eat. So like, we are about to take off.
Yeah, there's
man.
a precipice there.
We're only 25 minutes into this conversation. We've been pretty heady. We haven't even talked about your first restaurant yet.
What up, Unstoppable restaurant owners and operators? We have to interrupt today's video to let you know that Restaurant Unstoppable and Restaurant Systems Pro, we're taking our relationship to the next level. Beginning in July of 2024, Fred Langley, CEO of Restaurant Systems Pro, is making himself available once a week in Restaurant Unstoppable Network to answer all of your restaurant systems questions, whether it's the profit margins. He will look at your P&L. Bring your P&L. He will take a look at that. He will dissect it. He will help you find your profit, whether that be through budgeting, inventory management, costing recipe cards, labor, checklists, you name it. He is a master on restaurant systems, and he's making himself available to you. Fred Langley and Restaurant Systems Pro started as a consulting firm, and for over 16 years, they've been helping their clients increase their profit by 10% or more. What are you waiting for? Click the link below to join our Facebook group, Restaurant Unstoppable Network.
But I'm loving it, man.
Well, I mean, this is what ultimately, this is what started it. Was the notion more so. I never. It wasn't the restaurant industry, I think, that got to me, nor cooking or any. It was taking care of people, I think, is what I really enjoyed the most out of it.
Yeah. So 2001, you graduate Texas A&M. What'd you go to school for?
I wanted to go be a vet.
Okay. Taking care of animals, taking care of people. It's all
Yeah,
great.
man, it's interesting, man. It was just a pretty standard story of the, kind of the almost hacky joke of immigrant parents going, you can be anything that you want.
Where are your parents from?
Taiwan.
Anything you want. So
Anything that you want, as long as it's a doctor, an engineer, or a lawyer, you can be anything. The world is your oyster. And my rebellion against that was, oh yeah, I'm gonna be a doctor for animals. How about that? I love animals, and I held on to that dream since I was a child, since I was 6 years old probably, and I just lived on it. And A&M was it was and is one of the best vet schools in the country, and I went there and all the way, biomedical science and pre-med and everything, and got 2 years in, and I was like, well, let's go work at a vet clinic. I don't even know anything about the industry. Pre-internet, right? How much research could you do back then?
Right.
And so I was like, let's do it. And
it's 1997. Right?
Yeah.
Or no, this is when you were a child.
No, this was in college. This was in college. By the time I got into college already thinking I was going to be a vet.
Yeah.
And I just worked there, and it just wasn't what I really thought it was, and no shade. And I know some beautiful vets now and people who have amazing practices and really do help. It just wasn't what it was for me.
What was the reality of it?
Well, the reality of it is that there's a human aspect to it, and there was a lot of aspects of where we are constantly, it's just like kind of in here. I think I imagine personal trainers feel this way. I imagine doctors in general for humans feel this way, is that we were kind of trying to fix the human condition as well. We had a lot of people that would bring in their animals, and they're these family members that have such dependency on you, and it was your fault that my dog got out of the lawn and ran into some barbed wire, and the dog ate my toothpick, ate my lipstick, or
my
something.
Gummies.
Yeah, some of my gummies, or I left a chocolate bar on the ground, and all this other stuff. Or my dog has these problems or those problems because of inbreeding, because of
I didn't do my research.
That kind of stuff. Yeah, whatever. And so. Like I said, I think that they're fighting the good fight, and I don't want to give them shade, but it's one of those things that for me, I think I probably wanted to be more like I wanted to work at a zoo. Like I think I had this vision.
More passionate about the animal, not just dealing with the owners.
I was just fascinated with animals in general and their involvement in the world, and this
biology.
kind of this beautiful design of like you said, it's like no wasted energy and no wasted effort in the animal kingdom except for us.
What's that field called where you're studying animals? Not necessarily like a
zoology. I'd say it's probably
yeah.
zoology. Yeah.
Then you get the deal with the people that were bringing in their 16-year-old dog, and they're like, "Fix my dog." And you're
That's
like,
right.
Here's the answer. It comes in a needle form. Like, what are you doing?
And that's
to your pet?
it's so heartbreaking on that side, and it was hard to deal with. But at the same time, it's like it is true. I mean, we are disrupting a lot of things. I don't know. Have you read or heard about like the Pablo Escobar hippopotamus problem?
No. Wait, so we are disrupting a lot of things. What do you mean by that?
As a human, I don't think, like you're talking about, how our food is grown. You're not supposed to grow 1 million acres of soybeans or something. That's not, nature would have never allowed that to happen, right?
Yeah.
It would, we are not doing that. And so when we disrupt things by over farming or overfishing,
or bringing hippos in,
right? And exactly what happened. So apparently, in his prime, Pablo Escobar had an exotic zoo and imported all these crazy animals, including a number of hippos, because the fact that Colombia has no natural predators and shouldn't have hippos. These hippos that were ultimately let free have flourished and have caused a problem and are causing issues in the ecosystem that they don't belong in. It's like a mini Jurassic Park, like they're not supposed to be there.
Right.
And they're trying to find out ways, because rather than massacring these animals who did do nothing wrong, they're trying to sterilize them, and and these are different things.
Is there an issue with hippos in Africa being under, like, in terms of, like, is there like are they on the extinction list?
No,
right now?
I don't know. I don't believe they. I don't
bring it
believe.
back to
I don't believe.
Africa.
I don't believe they're qualified. They qualify as an endangered. I don't. Fact check me, somebody on that.
Right.
It's more of, I think. Transporting hippo is not easy either.
Oh, right.
Heavy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, so the notion of this kind of that natural order of things was very fascinating to me. And then what ended up happening was during that time, I was working a lot with children. I was a PAL. peer-assisted leadership stuff. I was at mentorship stuff. I did some summer camps. I, did a number of different things, and working with kind of the youth that was in my community at the time. And even back at home in church, I have a younger sister who's 5 years younger than me, and so it's like that's always resonated with me. And so, I just recognized this notion that that is not divisive. I would argue that if anybody, as divided of a people as we are, historically, I think a lot of it is really done in service to our children. I think that if you ask the person that you vehemently disagree with on political policy, on religious policy, on anything, what they're trying to do largely is probably rooted in what's best for their family and the people in their immediate circle. And so this notion of helping the kids out, helping children out, has always been kind of something in the forefront of my mind. And so,
what better industry to be in, the hospitality, helping young people?
I went into school. I went to education, and so I actually graduated with a degree in elementary education. And that was my second pivot, which was I worked in a school and I recognized the bureaucracy and the red tape of public school system.
Right.
That is very tough and very, very difficult. And our teachers are heroes, and in reality, they are faced with a number of different difficulties, not the least of which is governmental stuff, paying the bills and stuff, right? But just even again, personality. Each generation raises a different child, and that child grows up to have a different child. And these people who are educating, is very hard to stay ahead of that curve or on that wave to make sure that you're on the trend. It's just like in our industry. Let's take it back to hospitality. It's like you have to be abreast with, educated on what is the trends and how people are eating and how things are going. Because I'll tell you, when I opened up Swift's, we were one of the first few people that had very intentional vegetarian and vegan items on there. It wasn't like
that was 2012, so that was pretty far ahead of the curve.
Now, if you don't have that, you're
missing most of your target market.
Yeah, you're missing the game. Like you're not even playing the game. Like what are you doing? And so it was a similar thing. I remember one of my first managing jobs was the first time I really understood or heard of anybody having a gluten allergy. And this person, it was a sushi restaurant that I ran.
This was in 2004 to 2007.
Yes, Kenichi. This person brought their own soy sauce with them, so that, or tamari, because
soy free.
Yeah, the soy free. Yeah. And so I just remember because this person was such a regular, I personally I was like, stop carrying soy sauce in your purse. Like, I'm just going to carry a bottle of tamari here. Yeah. I'm going to put your name on it.
It doesn't have any soy product in it, right? Tamari doesn't have soy in it, or is it gluten-free soy?
No, wheat. Doesn't have wheat.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, it doesn't have
soybean. What's in the soybean that?
I don't think it's soybean. It's the soy sauce itself has a wheat germ. I believe in the processing, it uses wheat.
Got it.
I believe.
So tamari is that gluten-free version.
It has a gluten-free. Yeah. And again, what I don't know, and I have not even really done the research on, is at what level of how do I say this? At what level of sensitivity, what triggers what? The highest level of celiacs versus a sensitivity that says whatever. And then for me, the hospitality side is I don't care. You don't want it, then I don't want to give it to you.
And that was the message that I focused on the gluten thing, but the message was like you're just going to go above and beyond to make it more convenient to see that this person has a preference and that you value them and that you're going to go above and beyond to make them feel welcome.
Right, because that is the notion. Yeah. It doesn't matter to me. I mean, at that same restaurant, I had a guy that came and ordered chicken teriyaki and wanted ketchup with it. Who cares?
Is that how you like it?
Sure. And we didn't carry ketchup.
I love ketchup, for the record.
So
man.
I would go.
That's probably one of the reasons why I got pre-diabetic. I didn't know how much sugar was in that shit.
Oh my God, all sugar. I went next door to the sports bar that was there at the time and got a bottle of ketchup, took Sharpie, wrote it down, put it in our walk-in, said anytime that you need ketchup, I got it here. Like, stop bringing it with you.
Yeah.
You know, this is silly.
I love that.
And so it's like, how hard is it to just take a time to take a moment to care about somebody else's, preferences or needs or wants beyond yours for a second. And it just takes no time.
So 2004, 2007, you're the general manager for, say the name of the restaurant again?
Kenichi.
Thank you very much. What were you doing between 2001 and 2004? Because if I look at your Chintertainment, it goes back to 2001, or is that just like a random?
Okay, so Chintertainment, I say, and it wasn't. I mean, the Secretary of State is. I don't want to get a letter from her going, "You didn't found us in 2001." I wasn't getting. I didn't have an LLC or anything. The name, I came up with the name in 2001, because I was running a nightclub at the time.
Were you in college at this time?
I was in college. I just finished college.
This is in College Station?
College Station, right. I'm a bigger guy. I needed a job that worked late nights because I had to teach during the day. So I always had a job all the way through college pretty much, and if not multiple. And I was like, I could get hired as a door guy, security guy. I'm a big dude, probably will. Pretty quickly recognize that breaking up fights for a living is not my thing. I'm kind of a pacifist. And and then you kind of glance over there and you see the bartenders counting out, $300, and they're flirting with girls all night, and you're kind of like, what is that? I'm breaking up fights? Like, like, how can I do that? And I got into it and started bartending, and then from bartending went into managing the place. And what I did was, during that time, the owners who didn't live in town, I think the owner's son was in town that just ran the place, and so we had it was a little bit of inmates running the asylum, a bunch of young 20-year-olds running this bar. And the marketing was terrible, and this was early on, again, pre-internet, and well, not pre-internet. We had internet, AOL.
Yeah, it was
right?
your Google
GeoCities.
searching. Like, this is dancing hamsters.
Yeah,
time.
GeoCities, right? E-Bombs world.
Yeah.
And so I asked them. I said, look, I'll take over for you on a couple conditions. And number one is you got to step out of the way from the marketing because you're bad at it. And
is this the owner's son or the owner you're talking to?
Both.
Okay. And
I said, let me just run with it and let me create a website.
How'd you know what marketing was good back then? You're a zoo, like you're not a zoo. Sorry, veterinary and education. Like, how did you learn about marketing at this point?
I think marketing is just marketing. I think there's
you just got a knack for it.
Yeah, I think you just think about what works on you, and you think about what works on people.
Social intelligence.
There's a little bit of understanding of, like, to me, is just what people are looking for. And again, there's another quote that I love. Right, it's the mark of an educated mind is the ability to entertain a thought without accepting it. And it's like, to me, it's to be able to, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was Aristotle. But anyways, it's this notion of being able to sit here and say, yeah, it's like, I remember I have a server here, and we were especially when we first started, very meat heavy. We had a lot of pork and very, it's like, obviously, so we have the big pig in the corner over there, and we had a vegan working with us that was just incredible at selling these items and having never even eaten it herself. And she was just took it upon herself to be able to, understand it on a level that doesn't necessarily even, that will transcend kind of just your basically rote memorization, right? And so for me, this understanding of marketing was like, well, how do people, and this, again, pre-internet, well, pre-social media, how about that? How are people getting information? What is causing people to come and find you? This running an ad in this paper, does that do anything? Why is it? Why would anybody be looking through this paper to find a place to go unless that's exactly what they're looking for? What are we trying to do? And so one of the things that I did was, I would have photographers that were roaming through the club, taking pictures and handing out, the card of our website and say, hey, join, go to the website. We're going to be posting these pictures. If you don't want your picture posted, let me know and I'll make sure we take it off. And literally created like early level photo sharing, right? Early Facebook type things where it created this call to action where if you didn't take any pictures of your night out at my establishment, then don't worry, we got you. You know, to come online and check it out, and now you have this picture of, and so that created, and you saw it at the time, you put a little view counter on the bottom thing, and it's like all of a sudden you're getting, thousands and thousands of eyeballs, as opposed to this notion that people are just stumbling upon you to get your address.
Got it.
Right, to get your information.
So you just got this like natural inclination towards marketing. You say, I'm going to manage this, but if you agree to these terms, like you have to get out of the way. I think that's really intuitive. Most people, there's like, you need to have creative freedom to be the shot caller, because now there's like a vision, but you have a different vision, and now we're just pulling against each other.
Lead, follow, get out the way. Yeah. Right. To me, it's like if you have an idea, I'll follow. Yeah. Right. If you have somebody else that wants to do this, I'll follow them. If you don't, follow me. Right. And if you don't want to do that, then get out of the way. Then I'll do all of it.
Either you're on the bus or you're not.
Either.
I don't want you dragging your feet, slowing us down.
Yeah. And I said, just give me a chance on that. And that resonates too. I'll tell you about Kenichi later on in a second. But that Chintertainment was formed by me needing to do graphic design work for the club. And so I was just trying to think up of a name for what I was doing. And what ended up happening was, because I was teaching myself graphic design work, early stages, Photoshop and Illustrator, and doing our own flyers and all this stuff. And I really loved that. Always been kind of, fascinated with the art world and try to dabble in it as much as possible. People were starting to see it, enjoyed it, and liked my work, and were trying to started getting me to do their stuff, and I couldn't do it under my club's
name. So it's like
name.
Branding, graphic design, marketing type stuff, like banners, posters.
So I just started doing, mostly at the time was club flyers, right? These flyers that you would go to Miami, they would gang run 5,000 flyers for $100 or whatever it was, and you go and pepper the city with them. Yeah. That was early. This is telling my son this. It sounds like I lived in the Stone Age, because I was like, that's basically like sending a tweet out. So
we're born in the 80s, right?
I was born in 79.
79. So I'm 85, and I heard a stat recently that like, like something like if you were born in like 2001 or something like that, like that's the equivalent of like us looking at somebody who was born in like 1960s. It's just like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like, we're old,
don't even think about that, because we are old.
Yeah. That's crazy.
But I mean, it did. You work with, I know now, I've been blessed to meet and some of my heroes and some of my musician friends, and like when you're talking about like my boy Jeff, right? DJ Jazzy Jeff, and how he became popular, and you're like, if you heard him DJing somewhere on the street, you know how hard it was for you to get that music into somebody else's hand? Like, you had to record that set with some sort of recording device that you had. You had to make that tape, physically go and dub that tape into a mixtape of some sort, take that and make that copy and hand it to somebody.
Right.
Like, that was, do you know how much you had to like somebody to like think that far, as opposed to now, if I hear a song I like, I can just yell from across the room that, hey, go ahead and send this to this person, and it instantaneously arrives on their phone.
Or you can tell your phone to listen to it and tell you who it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, so those cats understand. We understand the difficulty of that, and I think that being able to,
it's the 10,000 hours too.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of so I mentioned to somebody I was talking to you, and I was like, oh, like tell me more about CK, and I was like, oh, like all the stuff. I was like, I want to listen to his episode on Joe Rogan. I'm a huge Joe Rogan fan. And then I was like, and then we started talking about the mothership. And then I mentioned that I have tickets to the mothership tonight, and then we're talking about like, I think the comment was, I was like, I think it'd be cool to talk to somebody at the mothership about the idea of how they're kind of to what we're talking about, lifting each other up. And they were like the first comedy club to really kind of make it about promotion and bringing people up, because Joe talks about it all the time on the show, where like when he was coming up, it was like you were being pushed down by the people who made it. It wasn't about lifting people up. It was like, like they weren't like there was like, it was cynical, but he, with the mothership, really pivoted it and said, no, we're going to be all about the talent. Like, we are only as good as the talent we bring into it. Like, we're going to reverse engineer this place to be about the experience that we're creating and to attract on the good people. And in the restaurant industry, the talent's the bartender, the server, the chef, and like, they understand that it's about lifting people up and about creating opportunity and about going further together. And I was like, and then he was like, well, if you're Joe Rogan, it's easy because you got $100 million, and like it's easy to create up. And there's truth to that. Like, when your cup is overflowing, like, it's easier to give. But I'm like, Joe started like when he was like 16 years old or 15 years old with jiu-jitsu or like martial arts, and he started with the comedy when he was like 18 or 20 or something like that. So like you didn't see the 20 years
That's right.
that he put in to even be on the radar, and then another 20 years after that, he's almost 60.
And that's exactly it. I mean, but it is a mindset. It's an abundance mindset versus a scarcity mindset, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we all grew up with this notion of school of hard knocks, and we all grew up with, I grew up working in an industry where chefs zinged a ramekin at my head, in this kind of this Hell's Kitchen, that type of environment that makes for good TV, but it's not really it's pretty toxic kind of environment, and it's already a tough environment, right? I mean, I remember when we first ran our ad for, Swift's Attic, Chef and I were like, what should be our title being? And our title was like, do you like to play with knives and fire? And that was like kind of our ad to call for action for chefs, and it was one of those things where, it doesn't have to be that way. And you recognize that people are trying to make it up in this world, and there's an apprenticeship aspect of it to it. And there is some things about steel sharpening steel. There is a part about being forged and getting hard enough to deal with this and understanding that it shouldn't be made easy for you, but that doesn't mean you should be actively their opposition in a way either. I think that there's a difference between this mentality of particularly like maybe a chef that immediately judges you upon meeting you that you are not ready and you'll never be ready, and that your job is to break through this barrier and they're the barrier, as opposed to maybe a chef that has this standard of excellence that you're looking for, or a server, a bar owner, restaurant owner, whatever, that has the standard of excellence that says, no, I absolutely think you can do this, but I won't settle for less than that. And it's not going to be easy for you, but if you want to do this, I will help you do it. And it's just one of those things. I think there's a slight, very subtle, nuanced difference between intentional opposition and kind of critical resistance that creates creates strength, creates power, creates longevity, or whatever you want to say. And I think there's a big difference between that. But I think the only way that we've ever learned it was from that hard-nosed boss. And it's funny, once you survive it, you talk to anyone our age or even older, even more so, and they go back and they wax poetic about these mentors that were just terrible kind of people with a heart of gold, right? This mentality, whatever it is,
right?
Yeah. And it's just kind of like, sure, like that might be all that we knew. And I used to joke about, I joked about this with my mother, and I say, I wish you were meaner, because I'd be a concert pianist right now if you would have let me not quit piano lessons. You didn't let me. You let me quit piano lessons. Why? Yeah. It's like right now I'd be able to play piano, and it's,
you didn't hold me to my potential.
Yeah, but it's like, so anyways, but so that to me is this kind of idea of being able to look around you, recognize where they are, meet people where they are, recognize that this industry might be not for everyone to make it into a career, but for the time being that they teach us valuable work skills. I mean, valuable life skills, valuable. Right. And then again, being a part, and we keep going back to this, being a part of the ecosystem of us as humans, and to be able to say, no, we need to be a part of this. We need to take care of our environment. We need to take care of the community. We need to take care of the earth that we live in. We take care of our bodies. We have a responsibility. Yeah. I talk about as a restaurant, how I remember there's a dude that came into the sushi bar that years ago that was allergic to sesame seeds. And then I said,
was this with your sushi bar or the one you managed?
No, the one I managed.
Good.
And I literally was like, I think you should leave.
Yeah, get out of here.
I said, sesame seeds are damn near microscopic. They look like pepper. They are probably floating in the air here in the sushi bar, and it can kill you. Yeah. You are giving an extraordinary amount of responsibility to my guy that's behind the sushi chef that had maybe a couple drinks last night, whatever it is. Like, this is, you don't know what this person's his attention to detail. Like, you're putting a lot of trust in that I hired well and I trained well, that these people are, your life is in their hands. So there's that extreme. But on the next extreme is like, I even remember I had a couple of friends of mine that are always like, hey, why does it taste different when I cook at home? And it's like, do you know how much butter we use and some things? Like, do you know how much like salt and awesome things that we put in your food? And it's like, some of this food is not designed to be eaten every day.
Yeah, it's meant to be addictive. As mentioned, you come back, it's delicious.
And it's delicious, and it also makes you feel good. And it's like,
well, like literally with alcohol too. Like we're like in this industry, you know, and like it's where a lot of people who I've had on the show that, you know, realize, you know, they accepted they're alcoholics and, you know, but they continue to own bars and they have like this level of guilt and remorse that like they're making money on other people's vices, you know, and it's just like, it's weird, like
dichotomy of that. I will say this always, it's everything in moderation, including moderation, right? It's like this idea of
using and abusing.
There is an ability, there is something beautiful about it. There's an artisanship to it, you know, and then there's a way to respect it as well. Like, I think that is what it is. I think that there is certain, you know, portion size and growing and even the efficiency upon which we can serve something at a certain level of this kind of instant gratification notion and this kind of stuff. Like, that's in the wrong direction, in my opinion. And it's like, so we as consumers are victim to that. I remember joking like one time about the Amazon effect, right? When I was looking at some shop that I wanted to buy something at, and they're like 3 to 5 days shipping. Like, what am I, like
what is this?
What are you sending it on a mule? Like,
yeah,
it's like I can get a monkey delivered here from, you know, Tibet tomorrow.
Well, yeah, man, it's amazing you say. I say this a lot, and people kind of look at me and they're like side-eyed, and I'm like, I think marketing is the bane of human existence. And the reason why is because you start getting into this, what you're alluding to right now. And it's just like, when you really start to study marketing and you start to understand marketing, it's not good for society. You know, like it's
not
like
organic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even to like portion sizes, right? Like, what people are trying to do is to give you perceived value. They're loading your plate with a bunch of hollow calories to make you think you're getting a great deal.
Yeah.
And that's marketing, you know, and like, you know, to your point with like like Amazon today, like Amazon, they are beyond marketing. They are complete and utter just like manipulation and like not like persuasion, but you have no clue it's happening to you, marketing.
Right. Well, it's
like
the human algorithm, right? Like, I was trying to explain algorithms to my son, and I was like, in early computer programming when I was, you know, more nerdy, you know, this algorithm of how to solve a problem. And kind of this kind of pathway of problem to solution and kind of how you get to that. And this idea of like, you know, you hear this word algorithm a lot, is as to how these computers are deciding what you're consuming or what you're seeing. But we do that every day, every second, every instance, all this data that's bombarding us. And we're creating this internal algorithm as to what we want to see more of and what we want to see less of.
Yeah, the low road of consciousness.
Yeah, and to be able to fundamentally kind of rewire yourself, or to recognize that this is happening to you, and people are starting to, right? There's the people that are out there that are creating these ways to make the phone less addictive, right? But removing all the color, or removing all of this, you know, getting phones that only have 2 buttons, you can only call on it, or whatever it is.
Yeah, or like when it's shut off, like there's that literal thing that removes the battery, because even now with your phone shut off, like it's still listening. It's crazy.
And so there's ways that, you know, and I think that food is at the forefront of that decision of recognizing. I remember in the early parts of the pandemic, where in efforts to kill time, I was trying, as I was cooking dinner, I was like trying to find things that I would normally speed through and take as long as possible to do it. Like, I remember how I made myself in the middle of, or it was like June, and like this Thanksgiving dinner for myself. And I normally would never do that, obviously, but I was like, well, let me make this single portion of green bean casserole and a single portion of, you know, like little tiny, you know, little small little things. But I'm like, let's do it all from scratch. Like, I need probably a gallon of chicken stock. I'm gonna make the chicken stock from scratch, and then I'll tell you what, green beans, I'll use real green beans, and I'll snap, you know what I mean, and all this, as much as things that, whereas normally I would get a can, and then this, you know, everything, I do everything from scratch. And I remember it was like it was just very cathartic about it. And there's something very like, almost like I said, very religious about it in that way of like this kind of connecting with like, man, this used to take forever, but how much love, like when your parent would do all this for your kid before, just so they can eat it and scarf it down, or like my child now at 2, where one day to the next, they'll either love it or fully not want to eat it at all. Like, come on. Like if that's not putting some love in your food, like I don't know what is. And so this notion of this, us as the monetization of this hospitality or taking care of people, or our generosity, all that stuff,
the time and energy you put into it,
that is where the algorithm and then the marketing fails, right? Because what we're trying to do is to say, okay, marketing, I don't know if this is the real answer, but this is what my brain tells me is like, marketing is the ability to kind of to have this message and to deliver this message to as many people as possible, whatever that message may be.
Bring it to market.
So if your bring it to market is to say that I want to sell this product, and that means I need to do this more or this less, that's what it's going to do. As opposed to if my thought that I'm trying to market is I want to take care of as many people as possible.
Wait, say that again. I want to do more, this less. What do you mean by that? Like the actual act of like your energy going into, like
putting your energy,
selling propositions of what you're doing,
right? So like like for instance, I tell my clients all the time, I was like, be careful about discounts. I said, because what you're marketing out there is that the value of my product is a flexible proposition,
right? And you're also bringing in people who care about the best price, not loyal customers.
Correct. And so for me, it's like that in and of itself is marketing. But what are you marketing? Or do you know what you're talking about? There's a comedian that used to talk about, and it resonates me with it as a parent, but they're talking about how like sometimes you don't know what the lesson, it's like just like you don't know what your marketing is causing out for you. You don't know what lesson you're teaching, or you don't know what lessons people are learning, right? You think you're teaching this, but whatever. And the joke goes, I believe it was Ricky Gervais who was talking about how like the boy who cried wolf, and it was like, you teach this, you use this parable as a way to teach kids not to lie. And he goes, in reality, no, you're teaching kids that don't tell the same lie twice. Like it's just like it worked once. Right. It worked great that first time. And that's not what you're trying to teach them. And so it's the same thing. It's like, so you marketing and saying, hey, I'm going to give you a value deal if you come in at this time to this time. That's the value. People might be recognizing that, oh, hey, well, this product's actually it's not even worth it. They're look, they don't even think it's worth it. They're discounting it, or whatever it is. And so, but to me, the pivot needs to be from a mentality is like, no, I'm not trying to sell more things. I'm trying to provide what I'm doing to more people, however that may happen. Once that is successful, meaning we get people fed, we get people happy, we get people enjoying what we've built, we enjoy the building, we enjoy that. Did I knock it out? I think
we'll figure it out later.
Okay,
I don't think it's fine. No,
okay, so we enjoy.
For context, we just punched the camera.
Yeah, we enjoy all this stuff, right? We can figure out how to monetize it later. Like seriously, like that is my mentality. And it's not, you can't be completely oblivious to the notion that we are doing this for a living. I'm not, that's not, don't take this wrong. You have to understand the numbers and you have to understand the logistics of running a business. But I'm just saying that's not your focus. You're not saying like, just get people in here at any cost. It's not profit at all cost. It is people over profit, right? It is taking care of the people and getting the root of what you're trying to do.
Take care of the people. The people tend to take care of the profit.
They tend to take care of it itself. I mean, that is ultimately what it is. And again, people are way more willing. People work hard. They're not in this industry, but they worked hard for that dollar that they're going to spend here, right? They worked hard on what they're about to do and to spend that money, and they're deciding on giving it to you so that you can continue on this ecosystem, this economic ecosystem. And so letting them trust you and letting them realize that it's going to someone that is good, and going to that it's not at the expense of anything, that we're actually doing to contribute as part of the community. All these things are better focuses to me than the notion that, hey, guess what? We can make a little bit more profit if we just trim a little bit. I remember a mentor told me these, and the joke, I still say it as a joke, but he said, what's the, how big is a 8 ounce? What's the perfect 8 ounce fillet? And they're like 7 ounces. Like, you know, and I'm just like, yeah, that's not where we make our money. Like, I'm not trying to cheat people out of their money. You know,
Right.
I'm not trying to, that's not what we're supposed to hear for. It is a unfortunate, necessary evil that we have to charge people for this. You know?
Right. And it's weird. And that charging makes it a transaction. It's a literal transaction, right?
Yeah.
And I think we've gotten to a point now where like the hospitality industry is more about transactions and commerce than it is about relationships and literally like warmth and generosity
100%.
and killing
100%.
or caring. You know, and we see this where like now it's like you see it with like DoorDash or like Toast delivery, where like the amount of chargebacks are crazy.
Yeah.
Where like people are just like, well, you know, I could just like do a chargeback, I can get my meal and I don't have to pay anybody and nobody's gonna like contest it, you know? And you're like, well, it's just DoorDash. But no, like that chargeback, like that goes to the restaurant, you know? But if you knew the owner, if you had a relationship there, would you steal money out of your friend's pocket? But because there's like this like literal like entity between the end user and the actual producer, it's like it pulls the relationship out of it.
What up, unstoppable restaurant owners and operators? We have to interrupt today's video to let you know that Restaurant Unstoppable and Restaurant Systems Pro, we're taking our relationship to the next level. Beginning in July of 2024, Fred Langley, CEO of Restaurant Systems Pro, is making himself available once a week in Restaurant Unstoppable Network to answer all of your restaurant systems questions, whether it's the profit margins. He will look at your P&L. Bring your P&L. He will take a look at that. He will dissect it. He will help you find your profit, whether that be through budgeting, inventory management, costing recipe cards, labor, checklists, you name it. He is a master on restaurant systems and he's making himself available to you. Fred Langley and Restaurant Systems Pro started as a consulting firm, and for over 16 years, they've been helping their clients increase their profit by 10% or more. What are you waiting for? Click the link below to join our Facebook group, Restaurant Unstoppable Network.
It's an interesting thing. I did this. I mean, you're talking 20 something years ago. When I was running that nightclub, and actually when I became a manager, we had a door charge, cover charge, right, as people were coming in the door. And it's just like going to a restaurant and a bartender giving you a free drink. But I remember at the time, we would have these door charges, and I came up with this idea because what I said is like, look, we need to get people in. We need to take care of people. I want people to understand that's absolutely part of the game. And you know, we're very loose, in my opinion, on gifts. Give gifts. Like, I want people to, we have to comp things when we make a mistake. If we don't make enough mistakes, which I hope we don't, use the rest of that allocated budget on gifts.
How much do you budget for? Is it a percentage?
Yeah, I usually try to stay under 3%.
3%. So 3% is to cover, making mistakes right.
Yeah.
And or if we're doing good, like let's hit that budget because we can, and that will become that's a marketing expense.
That's marketing expense because to me it's like if somebody is at their table and they're having a blast and they couldn't decide on whether or not to get a dish A or dish B, and then they went with dish A, and then you're like, you know what, you guys are having a great time. I'm going to send you dish B on the house because I know you're leaving town tomorrow, and I can't live with myself without you having trying this food because you really wanted it, you know. But so what I did was I started the night off, and I would get probably a couple $100 out of the till, just, you know, 5s and 10s and whatnot, and just put it in my wallet. And as my friends would come in and I would take care of them, they would come up to the door, and you know, the cashier, the lady, the door girl that was sitting there, and I'd be like, hey, you know, I'm taking care of these 4 people. And I'd pull my wallet out and pull out $25 or whatever it was that was the cover, and pay the lady. And they're like, whoa, CK, like, you know, I didn't want you to pay. And I'm like, it costs money. Like, it's like, somebody paid, you know. It's like, don't, you know, and I'm not trying to make you feel bad. Go in, have a good time. I want you to have a good time. That's how much I want you to have a good time. Like, I want you to go in and have a good time. And you know, and I think that there's a fundamental shift on that. You know, I think there's like, it created something that either people recognize. There's people that would fight me on like, no, let me pay. Don't, you know, but if I just wave my hand and make it go away, it's like not real money. It's like, no, this is real money. And I want people to recognize it doesn't change the fact that I want to give it to you. You know, it just changes the fact that you should recognize there is an opportunity cost. There is a cost associated with that.
Makes you value it more.
Makes you value, and you want to add value and add tangible. And for them to recognize this idea, you know, that, you know, I used to tell my managers, I'm like, look, you know, we give discounts to friends that come in or whatever it is. And I was like, I'm a bigger fan of giving a gift and the discount. Again, I don't want to devalue my business. Is worth a certain amount. You shouldn't discount it. But I would just joke about if you discounted somebody's tab and they didn't look at the check, you know, like they hand you the credit card, they didn't even look at the tab, go take that discount off of it.
What are your top 3 favorite gifts to give?
It's almost always, I'm the opposite. I don't know if I'm the opposite. I don't know if more people think this way. You give your hit list, right? Your top 10, right? Your things that you know people are going to like. You want to be enjoy. I can't say that it varies from person to person, you know? I
was thinking that.
Yeah,
and
you have to.
Yeah. Well, it's like, is there a list that I just like rinse and repeat this here? I'm just going to, now you become a robot, or is it customizing the gift to the person?
No, it's always customizing.
Right.
It's always customizing the gift to the person. It goes as simple as a birthday cake at the end on their birthday, you recognizing that person is gluten-free, so they can't eat the birthday cake. So you got to do something sweet for the dessert. So you send them a sorbet instead, or it's anything, you know. And again, a better gift even is to be able to, you know, get service-wise and going above and beyond. It's this unreasonable hospitality, right? This idea of, I remember at the sushi bar, this guy wanted table bread. You know, I remember he wanted table bread, and I'm like, in what world, in what sushi bar that has table bread? But
we'll get you a bowl of rice.
Well, at the time,
want some carbs.
We were across the street from Trulux, and I sent my hostess across the Trulux and got a basket of bread and gave him some table bread and butter. Like, how hard is that? You know?
I'm curious. Do they know that you didn't have it?
I don't think so. I think they just asked.
Yeah. And I think, you know, I think that's a really great testament of true hospitality. So I experienced this. I've told this story before. I was in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. I was at Crescent City Grill, Robert St. John's restaurant, one of his many restaurants. And they were hosting the Restaurant Systems Pro Elite Meetup. And I was a part of that group, and we were having a group dinner, and they were going around asking the drinks. And I asked for, I think, a ginger ale. I was like, let's have a ginger ale. And I had no clue that they did not have ginger ale. And I think a lot of people will be like, we don't have that, but you know what, we'll go get it. But to your point earlier, you said that you wanted, like, if there's something about the tangibility of knowing that there's a cost, but there's also, when is it appropriate to make it seamless, where they will never even know that you're giving them a gift, but it will, you know, like, how do you find that balance?
Yeah, I think, again, you don't ever want to rub it in anybody's face. I don't think so. You know, I think that there is a tangibility about it. And again, it's not one of those things where I was intending to make somebody feel bad about it. I think that the notion, I think that is a marketing theory. I mean, this is what I mean. Like, I don't think that we should ever deny the fact that there's a purpose for everything that we're doing, right? I don't believe necessarily that there are things that are 100% purely altruistic, and at the same time, I don't think that capitalism is 100% evil, right? It's like this idea. I think
yin and yang.
There's a balance there, and I think that the notion that to provide service above and beyond, you know, making somebody aware of it, I think is something that can pay it forward, right? I think there's tact there, right? There is subtlety, and there is a way to do that. You know, there's a Churchill quote, I think, that says, tact is the ability to be able to tell someone to go to hell and make them look forward to the ride. Right? It works both ways. Yeah. We as hospitality people have to deal with the frothing, angry customer and try to talk them off, you know, talk them down and make them feel happy about themselves. And at the same time, also recognize how to take somebody's experience to the next level, right, or whatever it is.
So in that example of the ginger ale, it was the first time somebody pulled a fast one on me, in the sense that I had no idea that they did not have ginger ale. Other times I would ask for something.
How did you find out?
So I asked for a second ginger ale, and it was a less experienced, like, newer server.
Just said we didn't have it.
She was like, "Oh, let me go check to make sure we have that." And I'm like, "You do?" because I just got one.
Yeah.
And then I started to piece the puzzle together. And I'm
Yeah.
like, they don't have ginger ale.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's hospitality.
I think so too.
That's hospitality, is when you don't want to make the server or the restaurant feel inconvenienced for you.
That's
and
right.
by letting them know, then now you're like, well, I'm a pain in the ass. But if you just do it, but because they just did it, and I found out through putting the puzzle together, I was like, holy shit. Now, because you weren't looking for the reward as the server, making sure that person knows that you're going out of the way for them, you just won me over that much more, because that's generosity. That's
right.
true generosity.
That is true. I mean, there is moments like that happen all the time. I remember, at Wu Chow, I remember one time. So we have a set of high tops, a high table, just like the middle tables over here at Swift's, that are kind of bar height, kind of like this, but a little bit taller. And it's in the middle of the restaurant. I remember having, we were booked tight. It was a weekend night. And I booked my books on my reservation books really tight, table Tetris, right? And I remember I was there with my hostess. I almost ran the host stand almost 99% of the time, just because I was particularly good at this, moving things around. And table checked in. And I started scrambling, and I was moving everybody around, screwing up my own books. And the hostess was like, what in the world are you doing? And I was like, you didn't notice? I'm like, yeah, this table that's coming into seating at, 301 is, she's like 9 months pregnant. I was like, she's going to have a miserable time sitting on this bar stool. Like, we have to move them to a better table with a better chair, Yeah. I was like, they're going to have a terrible time. They didn't ask me. And to be completely fair, like, they might not even, it wasn't, she didn't let us know ahead of time this was coming, so it wasn't part of their mind to even suggest that. But to me, it was like, this is something we have to do for her to have a better experience, right. And just do it. And it uprooted, the rest of the week, the rest of the night, I was playing catch up, trying to move tables around, trying to get this, make up the difference. But I felt at that time it was necessary, or else this person would have a really bad experience.
I'm loving this conversation, man. Like,
Thanks,
to the
man.
point where, like, I'm like my standard flow where I kind of follow someone's journey. We talk about the evolution, the growth over time. Like, I'm just loving what you're sharing with us, your perspective, your values. It's coming out. It is 1:46 right now. We had time from 2 to, I think it was noon to 2.
We have all the time. We have plenty.
I just want to make sure how I know how much time we have on the back end of this will really steer the rest of the conversation.
Yeah, plenty of time. However you want to.
I'm loving it, man.
Great.
I'm loving it. I really am.
Me
So,
too.
what should we know about you in terms, like, if I have, another 30 minutes with you, right? What are you most passionate about? What do you think you have the most offer? Like, in what topic? Like, what area do you just want to go deep into?
Empathy. I am very much, I feel for, especially with young kids. I am simultaneously the most optimistic and motivated and inspired by these kids every day, and also terrified and heartbroken and very, very much, feeling very challenged about the future. And a lot of it comes from a lack of empathy and connection with people. And like you said earlier, and I can't agree with you more, the key to it is hospitality.
Yeah.
We're not in the food business. I'm not here to sell you a dish, a meal, something for you to eat, a drink, or anything like that. We are here to take care of each other. We are the watering holes on the savannah. We are these oasis in the middle of the desert. We are
the public house.
The public house, right? This is what we are doing to, most people through experience their first taste of another culture through their music and their food. That's it. I've watched in my own restaurant people that I know that if they knew what these people believed in politically, religiously, even intellectually, what they believed in.
When you say these people, who are these people?
Any guests in the dining room.
Got it.
That they would like almost not want to sit in the same room as them, but they're in here sharing a meal within feet of each other, within inches of each other, right?
Well, we don't do that anymore. We don't share perspective anymore. We glom onto our isolated, echo bubbled perspective, and we don't talk. We don't hear each other.
That's right. And even the recognition, this idea of breaking bread with somebody, or this idea that, my family is a family that we celebrated with food, we mourned with food. It was a social lubricant in every aspect of the way, meaning that was our priority when we met together. Our first plan that was like the keystone discussion was, where do we eat, and then we could figure out the details later. And I still plan my vacations that way. I tell my wife and I, when we were dating and going on vacation, it'd be like, okay, here are the dinner reservations that I have made, for the 3 days that we're here, and we can fill in the rest of the spots. But just remember, after our 6 o'clock reservation, we got a 9 o'clock dinner reservation for second dinner, because I want to try this place out. I had to get in there, so don't eat too much at the 6 o'clock. And that was the experience that I really wanted to do, and that was from my upbringing. But I do think that this notion, whenever people are like looking at each other, or have at odds and feel like you can absolutely not relate or cannot connect with somebody, and then you're like, well, I bet you if we were on a deserted island and you needed to eat, and that person had food and you didn't, and then y'all shared together, that you guys would be bonded.
We have way more in common than we do.
Way more in common
than we don't. Right?
And so for me, I think that everything that I do from here on out, even more so, is designed in trying to be to gather and to commune and create community, and to create this kind of notion that the world is a beautiful place. We can be part of it more. We can be respectful for it more. We can do that, and I do agree. I think that the answer to that is art and food and music and these things.
So we live in a world where it's getting harder and harder to do the right thing. And I think when I say that, I mean it's getting harder to pay your staff a livable wage and offer benefits and a 401k and a work-life balance. It's getting harder to source from local farms who are doing, organic, regenerative farming, whatever they can do to produce the best quality product. And it's also getting harder to make real human connections in a world that's more disconnected and distracted than ever before.
The most connected and disconnected we've ever been.
Right. So I think those three things, it's getting harder and harder to do what you're saying, which is to bring people together around community and to connect and communicate. So how are you... if that's what you're focused on doing, and then how do we do that? And when it's harder than ever,
it's intentional. The word of the day I always say with my family, with my employees, with my clients, is intentionality. Nothing is happening. Like, object at rest tends to stay at rest, right? It's like you have to be intentional with what you're doing, and meaning we might not know what's going to happen, but our intentions should be pure, and our intentions should be calculated, and our intentions should be as strong as they possibly can be, so that when the opposition comes, right, when we're talking about being unstoppable, when something tries to stop you, that you don't just crumble and fold, right? This intention is like this idea for the art park, for instance. We're building it to be as much as, some level of self-sustaining solar as possible, right? We've already put in the infrastructure to do solar panels, and it's supposed to be, by our calculations, generating a surplus of energy, and it should be, energy positive. Like, we should actually make more energy than we actually use. And that's super hard to retroactively do that to a business. But right now, when we're trying to decide what to put on the roof, it is more expensive. But it's not more difficult. It's not that much. It's not exponentially more expensive. And it's the same thing. It's like deciding and working on a business model that represents and recognizes that livable wage is a priority, healthcare or benefits are a priority, or regenerative farming, or using local sourcing, and all these things, and saying that, hey, these are the pieces that are non-negotiable, and every other aspect is intended to bolster and make those tenets work. Then that, while it may be more challenging, while it may create turmoil in your already existing business or whatever it is. It has longevity in it, and you have the added benefit of just being part of a better part of the solution and not part of the problem, right? There's this mentality, even like philanthropy. You know, I grew up in an era where I had this dream of like being successful enough to hold up that novelty check that says that, hey, I just donated X number of thousands of dollars to this cause. And in reality, I'm like, but you know, only one person does that in a room full of people. That if we all just did this much, that check would be nothing if we all just did that. And so this idea of motivating people to be like, hey, if we all agree that this place, if we all agree that you see transparency, that if my prices are 5% more than the next place, but you recognize that 15% of it is going to this.
Starting with that why.
Would your conscious, as a conscious capitalist, as somebody as a conscious consumer, would you make the decision to support that business over the convenience, over the cheaper, over the whatever, and say that hopefully that's the case?
You telling me we're not in the transformation economy, man? like we are so primed and positioned to change the world, and it starts by changing ourselves, by sharing by growing as individuals, by turning around and sharing our values with our employees and attracting people that have similar values and echoing that message, that intention out to our community and educating the community. And that's the consumer is where it all ends. That's where the buck literally ends. They have to grow. They have to evolve. They have to transform, because at the end of the day, their demand is what's going to change the game. We all do what we do because what does the consumer want? Right now, the business advice is give the consumer what the consumer wants. The consumer wants more for less whenever they want it. Yeah. Right. But you know what I'm saying?
But the consumer doesn't know what they want. I think that in a lot of times, and I think that if we believe in marketing and what we just talked about, the consumer is sometimes told what they want. And I think that
the narrative, that's big marketing controlling the narrative.
Right. And I think that if you took the time I don't mean to cut you off.
No, man. I'm here to listen.
It's not about manipulation. It is an uncovering. It is a recognition, again, that we are more alike than we are different. And this idea of empathy, and this idea, like right now I can already hear like the keyboards clacking about somebody going, well, are you planning to sacrifice your family for the good of whatever?
It's that's the counter argument.
Like, yeah, I am.
Yeah.
You know, like there's that discussion all the time. Like just sitting there going like, who's going to pay for free school lunches? Well, sure. If we all agreed that we'd rather do that than the newest bomber jet, right? We can make these decisions. Like we have the ability.
Or not even on the macro level of what the government's spending their money on, but where are you putting your money?
Yes.
How many subscriptions do you have to different media outlets? How often do you get new shoes? Right. Do you need a new purse, or do you like that new purse?
Right.
Like, where are we putting our money? Like, I'm not saying don't support people that are artists and create consumer goods, but I think that there's a hierarchy, and our food system should probably take priority.
Yeah, and I think that.
Sorry to cut you off.
No. And I think that at this stage, it's pretty easy. This is the what's great about our industry is the barrier to entry. Aside from semantical building of a brick and mortar, whatever, but the barrier to entry is fairly low. And what I mean by that is that you can, what I loved in the most recent Michelin kind of announcements and this kind of guide, I remember people talking to me about like,
congratulations on that.
Thank you. But you know what,
we haven't even got talked about the
people were talking to me about how I felt, and you know, did I always dream of getting one? I was like, man, that dream was so far away. I didn't even dare to dream it. It wasn't even a thought. But to see that my boys that are in, you know, over like at the Scala or at, you know, or at Nixta or at
Leroy and Lewis on just got their store.
These guys, like, for them to get recognized for the art that they're doing, as opposed to this notion where every once in a while when I heard about Michelin, it'd be like this crazy restaurant off the coast of some island that, you know, it's this crazy thing that seems so like almost like royalty. And this idea that you recognize that the artisanship and skill and talent and passion of these people, you know, cooking out of this 5x8, you know, little truck, is every bit as noteworthy, is something that to me this industry is very special at. And I think that music also is like that, meaning, you know, they do these experiments, right? They have these little thought experiments where they have like a New York subway where the Philharmonic is playing that night, and the concertmaster violinist would go into the subway 2 hours before, open up of their violin case and busk out there and play, and people would look and throw them a couple bucks here and there on their way in their tux to go listen to him, that he paid $1,000 to get to have a seat and he's playing for free down there in the subway. And it's the same talent and same ability. And for us, that is marketing, and that is this recognition that everyone has something to offer and everyone has something to give. And if we all just kind of connected a little bit more, we'd find that out more, you know? And I think that that's, to me, if you're talking about what I'm all about right now, that is the world I want my kids to grow up in.
Yeah, that's the next question. What is your intention?
That's what I want my kids to grow up in. That's what I want. I want them to be part of something. And I want, you know, we're building this park, and Andy says this all the time, that she tells her daughters and says, the park that I'm building you. And I say the same thing to my kids now. And I was like, this is the park that I'm building you. This is the one that you're going to grow up. And hopefully when people come in Austin and they talk about, this art park that they have that's so cool, and they say, my dad built that. And let's go. And what do? Oh, it's everything. You know, he does everything. We do that, and we do this children's camp so that people can learn about art for free that you can't afford to, or this is a place that you can go and enjoy and explore and paint without having to put on a hoodie in the middle of the night and spray paint and work on your skills that way. It's a place that you can actually practice and get better at this craft, and this mentality of this world that we're living in, that where it's like, yeah, let's try to figure out, if I'm feeding all these people, how do I feed the people who don't have enough to eat too? You know, am I doing enough of that? Am I destroying the earth in the process? You know, am I providing as part of the problem of this giant conglomerate farming thing that's destroying swaths of our planet because they're robbing it of its nutrients? Or am I trying to find the people who kind of recognize that we're probably not doing it the right way? It's a little bit more expensive, and we have to figure out how to make it work, but maybe we can.
Right.
You know?
So what you're talking about right now, what CK is talking about right now, is, if we're taking what you're sharing and putting it into business language, it's the significance of having a mission and putting that mission at the core of everything. Having core values, and having those core values be the filter of every decision you make for your business. This is aligned with who we are and what we're saying, what we are going to do. And then sharing that at the core of all of your marketing and your branding. This is who we are. This is where we're going. This is why we're doing it. And are you coming with us? Right.
That's right.
And that's the power of a brand. That's the power of marketing. That's the power of being intentional. You can't just say it. You got to cement it. You got to put it in stone. You got to echo it daily. You got to work it into your daily routines and your rituals and your communication with your team, and surface it all the time, because you can't lose sight of it. And that's what the best do. The most successful do is they're really good at knowing where they're going, why they're going there, and they have a filter. Should we say yes to this or no to this? Does it go through the filter, yes or no?
There's a thing that people have always said, that if you always told the truth, you don't have to remember anything, right? Because I don't have to remember what I lied about or what I did or what I said or anything like that. I was like, what was that answer? So this moral compass, this MO that you're talking about, this code that you're holding on to, if that's just who you that's who you are. Just be that.
Right. They always say, like, all the best advice we ever get is exactly what we know when we're a child. Be yourself.
Yeah, be yourself.
Yeah. Sorry, I cut you short. Keep going.
No. It's like, and what it is if who you are could use some work on it. Yeah. You know, like, and that's the thing. It's like, it is tough. It is really hard, and greed is very prevalent, and it's difficult, because there's always this opportunity, because we are a very opulent society. You know, we are at the best that we've ever been, and people always talk about, and you're like, man, the world is tough, but it's also very beautiful and very progressive and very, like, exciting, because we are making advancements in certain ways and things that we've never had before. And social media is an amazing thing, and it's also a double-edged sword, and it's also very dangerous. But you can reach people that you can never, like, there's people probably listening right now that I will never and ever 20 years ago have ever come across contact with, and they will never know who I am. And I might have an opportunity to resonate with them in some way, or even in a more amazing way, this person could make a comment and I could actually have a communication they
come into your restaurant
and I mean, forget that. Like I can just have a connection with this dude across the world, right? This person could be listening to it in Kuwait, and sit there and message me and sit there and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, how are you, and have this conversation and connect in that way. So I think that we are in a very beautiful place, but the ease, the laziness factor of an emotional and moral laziness of saying that the scapegoat is this is too difficult, or the scapegoat is I don't have the bandwidth to deal with that, or
what's that in your scenario?
Like, to me, I'll give you an example, is it forced us. You have to unlearn certain things, right? I came from an era that when somebody called in sick, you questioned it. Are you sick? Are you sick?
Right.
How are you too sick to come in?
Right.
What world do we live in when somebody has to come by and tell me that they're not feeling well, and that I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to run a server short. Like I need you. Like, I need you to come in and sacrifice your body to come in and work and potentially be at risk of the customers that you're serving. This notion, that's the era that I grew up in, right? Of that notion. Now it's kind of pendulumatically swung where I can't question
you're
that.
5 minutes late. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, but the same notion is this idea of being able to say, like, do I give time for personal wellness at the restaurant? I remember we had one of my servers.
So is that what you're saying? Like, I don't have time for that. It is finding time to find the balance to.
Yes.
To things like personal wellness or what
right,
else?
or taking the time. I'll give you the smallest example that I could think of that you can do right now. If you're listening to this and you own a restaurant right now, is when you write the schedule, do you take into account the lives of the people's schedule that you're scheduling? Do you sit there and take any instance and any time to sit there and think, this person's life is easier if I don't make them close on Thursdays? I can do this, or whatever it is? Or is the priority always just to put this cog in this wheel and turn it, and instead these are people and they have lives, and to figure that out? Or have you taken the time, and we have this thing where you're like, okay, you got to do these one-on-ones, but what are they for? Why are you doing it? It feels like a chore. And you're like, no, this is your chance to connect with the people that work and let your job be possible, and let you owning a business possible.
It's enlightened hospitality.
It is a honor. It is a testament to who you are as a person, as a business owner, to have people who enjoy working with and for this project. I don't even think they're working for me. They're working towards the goal of the business, and then we are working together on it, right? And I think that, to me, those are the laziness factors. Those are the morally lazy and emotionally and intellectually lazy to say, I don't have time to do that. It's like,
so,
no.
What's crazy, when I heard that, like, I don't have time, I feel guilty of that sometimes, because of, so for me, like, when those thoughts, I don't have time for that, it's usually like, am I going live or creating a video before going into a conversation with somebody? Am I taking time to post my story and tagging people and putting the hashtags in and putting the time to take all this B-roll and footage I'm grabbing to put a reel together with music and like on the beat, so it's like art, I'm driving across the country doing like coordinating, setting up, being the host, breaking down, grabbing the B-roll. Like, I'm trying to follow word of mouth. I would have never discovered you unless I didn't do journalistic, honest work. I am doing the obstacle is the way approach right now, where I'm trying to do the hardest fucking thing, travel, be in person, to listen, to find, like, to really do honest work. And it takes so much out of me to do what you're saying, the actual conscious work, the thoughtfulness, that like the stuff that I need to do when I feel like a lot of restaurant owners probably can relate with this, where they're trying to put their energy into the relationships, into like their team and like the product, and they're like, I forgot to do a story today. I forgot to like do it like a thing. It's like, that's what I was thinking, but you're saying it's the opposite, where people are putting so much energy into the stuff, the motions,
missing the forest for the trees, man.
Okay.
If your goal is to get through the forest, you miss the beauty of the forest, right? I think that there is, and again, it's a balance. It's yin and yang. It's silly to think that you can do this without the work. Right. I'm just saying, don't get lost in the work. There's always more work to be done. The work is never done. Matter of fact,
the work is the things.
The work is the things.
Yeah.
But what you have to do is to prioritize, and if you need to make the work. Put these things in with the things.
Right. The work is the what, not the why.
Yeah. Put the why into the work.
How do you put the why into the work?
Sometimes you have to trick yourself. I used to joke about how I never was, because I worked so much at the restaurants, 90 hours a week. I would have all my meetings here. So I would just schedule these meetings, and I'd say, come at the restaurant at whatever time, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock. I never wrote anything down. I was here already. And as long as I knew I didn't double book you, I didn't have to remember who I was meeting for. I saw you walk through the door and I go, oh, it's Eric. Guess we're doing a podcast at 2 o'clock. That's right. I never remembered anything. I was so bad at it. It was terrible. It was lazy. As consulting now, different clients and traveling and doing all this other stuff, like you have to start. Now I live and die by my calendar. Right. I'll book friends of mine for coffee or for lunch weeks in advance now.
Prioritize what's most important.
Prioritize those things. My wife is really good about putting into my calendar, hey, Raya, my daughter, she and I are going to go to the library to, check out new library books, and they're doing story time on this Friday, at this time. If you can make it, make it. If you can't, we can't. Yeah. And to recognize that for me, to choose to be home in time to put my kids to bed, in time to not miss bed, bath, and bedtime, book, bath, and bedtime, and not to miss that is a choice. And so for me to say that I'm able to prioritize these things and say it has as much ground and scheduling, it has as much weight in my calendar as a meeting with an investor or a new client or a customer or whatever, and to say, no, I have an employee here that is struggling with something, and I don't know if it's work related or not work related, but it's ultimately in my circle now. It's in my orbit. I need to make time to connect with that employee to make sure that they're doing okay, because they might be really good and pros at this job, and they're going to burn themselves out because they're going to keep working hard for you because they're good people.
Right.
And then you're not giving them the time to get themselves right. One of my favorite employees of my life, this guy Jonas, who worked with me for many, 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 many years across 3 different restaurants. He's been doing it for so many years, for decades. And he's one of the only people that I've known before a shift that I'd watch him like stretch, and I'd watch him like, sit there and take the time to do some motion exercises and all this other stuff. And I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, yeah, it's like, if I want to do this for any level of time, I got to take care of the body that does it. And it's wild, to me, that we don't take the priority to do that, and so it's little things like that I think, to me,
attention.
Is attention. Yeah. And then that's what I mean by that. It's to say, look, you're not going to get 100% of it. You're not even going to get close. But if you can stay true to your core tenets and say that do I care? Like, again, to distill it to an empirical level, do I care about my employees? Everyone's going to say yes. Okay, what does that mean? When you say you care about somebody, what does that mean? If I say I care about you, I care about my family, do you care? Yeah, well, what does that mean? If you cared about this person, would you do this? Would you step over this person? I use that example, and again, to humans, it feels very heavy. But I'm talking about, like, do you care about the cleanliness of this restaurant? You do. Okay, if you care about it, would you step over a piece of garbage, or would you pick it up on the way, whatever it is?
Well, that's the true act of culture, or the mark of culture is, are you doing what you say?
Are you doing what you say? Yeah. And so to me, it's like, that's where fundamentally it lives in, is to say, okay, these are my priorities. I care about the health of my employees. I care about the health of my customers. I care about the enjoyment of my customers. You know, I care about making money. So I'm worried. I'm concerned about waste. I'm concerned about theft. I'm concerned about this.
Well, yeah.
Right. These are things that I'm concerned about. So if you say that true, then take it to as far as that road can go.
Right. And this has been a very why heavy conversation, and you started getting into some of the what right there. And I want to wrap up with some of the what before we officially wrap up here today. So I think bringing somebody who we mentioned in today's conversation to the surface, and I'm not trying to beat up on this organization. I've been there. I love the experience I had. The food was amazing. Past guest on the show, Chef Evan Leroy and Lewis, amazing barbecue.
Amazing.
So
shout out to Evan for sure.
Yeah, man. Like, love the conversation, but he got vulnerable during that conversation, and he said that they had just started operating in the black, and it came with getting a Michelin star. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, like, you can have the why. They have it. They have the talent. They have the passion. They have the people. But to do the right thing, to source your products from a farm like Dean and Peeler, where they are doing amazing sustainable work, right? And to pay your staff to have 40 people. Like, they had so many people running around that place. Their labor costs could not be low, you know, to do that quality of work. Right. So I'm wondering, in terms of the how, like, are you, with your Michelin star restaurant, running into the same issues in terms of, like, are you just barely profitable?
We didn't get starred. We got recognition.
We
got Michelin recommended.
Got it.
We're on the guide. We don't have any stars.
Yeah.
So it's fair. No shout. No. Obviously, it's a huge honor still. You know, there's only a few of us on that list, but it's, you know.
Can I ask? Are all of your restaurants operating in the black?
Yeah. I think that there was some shakiness during the pandemic, and I think that operating in the black holds two words to me, and I think that operating in the black, meaning holding no debt or investors paid back, is also different than in operating in the black on a day-to-day.
Right, you're making profit, but the profit's going to paying off your debt.
Correct, and I think that people don't downplay that as well, you know, and I think that that's this monkey on your back that you have to pay people back. You know, this industry is notorious for having kind of that being a gray area, and it shouldn't be, you know, and I think that there's a notion of for me, for instance, you know, a restaurant can be operating in the black 2 months after opening, and what we mean by that is that what it costs for me to operate the place is less than what I'm making, right? But that doesn't mean you're making any money as the ownership, because 100% of that profit, or 98% of it, or whatever, might be going to the investors until they get paid back,
right,
and stuff like that. So you know, I think that there is some notion that this is definitely a passion project for most people. It's not something that's guaranteed as an enormously high failure rate, and so these kind of things all have to do with those facts. Now, what's difficult about it is, I think that the fundamental brain, that is the creative brain, tends not to live in the same head as somebody who typically would have a very logistical, very logistical and semantical and operational brain. It's just those two things tend to not mix.
Just had the author of Rocket Fuel on the show, and the Rocket Fuel is the integrator visionary relationship. Yeah. If you're one of those two people, you need the other, and that's talking to Matt and talking to Jason. Like, they told me that you're a visionary. Like, you have amazing vision, brand, you see things where other people don't. But do you also have a little bit of the integrator, the how?
I'm very, very how driven.
Okay.
And I think that's where, I mean, if anything, but my visionary is I don't have, so when people say about the visionary aspect of it, I honestly don't have, I have very broad dreams and visions of where the direction I want to be, but I don't have the drive. I think I'm more of a how person. I mean, because it's like, I joke, I was a musician for many, many years in my childhood. You know, I played in the symphony, but it's like I never had the drive to write my own music. I always joked about how it's like, yeah, I got to play in a symphony, but I was playing somebody else's art.
Is that creativity, or is that the ability to follow?
Correct.
Right.
And so this idea of saying, like, I'm, you know, I've cooked and I've been a chef in a number of places that made me able to be able to cook, but I don't have the need or the drive, this kind of incessant thing to create new dishes, right? And I do have this need or want to create things, businesses, things like this. That's the vision, cultures. But I don't have that creative mindset where I see as a musician, where I have friends of mine who are musicians that learn a new instrument, like just bought one at a pawn shop, and then start writing music on it that day.
That's wild. I'm
you know
so
what I mean?
Of that ability.
But they're like, I don't care if I'm good at it or bad at it. I'm just going to plunk away and I'm going to make a song out of it. And it's just like, no matter how good I am, it doesn't matter. It's like the equivalent of a painter, you know, that says, you know, I've never tried to paint, but here I am, let's try it, you know?
Right.
So I think that is, I consider myself more of an operationally minded person.
So most of your operations this is a full service operation. Your partner here, we're at the, at Swift's Attic, full service.
Yes.
Cocktail driven.
Yes.
It is also, what is it? Small plates. It's not, I'm at a loss.
Not tapas.
Not tapas, but small plates. What your other concept? You have So
Wu Chao is kind of farm to table Chinese,
like traditional Chinese.
Yeah, and we call it traditional. It's interesting, you know, because it's really, these are dishes.
Not American traditional.
Well, you know, it's like these are a lot of it. You know, it's like for instance, it's some level of American traditional also, because fried rice is not something that, you know, you lean into, you know, in Chinese restaurants in general. You know, it's like one of those things. It's an interesting concept, right? Because from our perspective, it's like, it's kind of like casserole. It's like whatever you use day old rice.
Yeah, it's like, what's today's inspiration? Last night's dinner.
Yeah,
right?
And so, you know, but if we didn't have that on the menu, we'd be laughed off the block, you know, that kind of thing. It's like, what do you mean a Chinese restaurant? So there is some level of understanding our audience, right? You know, I don't have like sea cucumbers on there, you know,
right,
as much as I think that people might enjoy it.
But it's a full service.
Full service.
How many seats?
Wu Chao's got 140, I think.
Okay. How many seats are in here?
This is about 90.
I was pretty close earlier.
Yeah, very close. Yeah. Very close.
So, and then you also have the sushi restaurant,
the sushi kind, which is 6 seats.
6 seats. So what kind of sushi is that?
It's I call it, we call it, it's a Japanese inspired, right? It's sushi driven, nigiri driven. I think it's very important.
What is that
it's omakase. It's called omakase.
So that's when it's like you come in and you say like, what are you in the mood for? And they kind of create sushi for you.
It's not even what are you in the mood for. It's whatever the chef's in the mood for at the time.
Okay.
Omakase literally means to entrust, and to kind of to entrust the you know, your experience to the person across from you.
Are you familiar with Federico Castellucci, the Castellucci Hospitality Group in Atlanta? I think it's this style of sushi that they just got a Michelin, and it's the most expensive restaurant to eat in Atlanta because of the economics. This is why I like to talk about this stuff, is because like people, like we don't have benchmarks in terms of like styles of service, volume, price points, cuisine, markets is another variable too. When you have 6 seats, and you know, how many turns are you doing a night? And that's 2. So 12 opportunities, right? You have somebody that is a talented person that's making that food, right?
Yes.
Do you have somms, and like, are you doing stuff like that too? Or?
We have a beverage director that handles the cocktails, and she also handles the curation of sake, along with sake somm that we work with.
Is it prefixed in terms of the fee?
Yes.
Okay.
It's prefixed in terms of the fee. It's kind of, you're right. There is an economics, meaning that there has to be a kind of a dollar amount that room or that room has to generate in a given day in order for this to work. I actually look at it the opposite, meaning it takes away the part of the industry that is very stressful, which is trying to get bodies through the door. When you're at that small, I'm not at competition with anybody, you know, with 6 seats, 12 people a day. I mean, in a week you're doing 50 people, in a month you're doing 200 people or whatever, 200 and something people. It's like we do that in one night at some of the restaurants over the course of a month. And so for us, it is not intended for volume. It's intended to really focus on the experience, and for us to say, hey, look, if we need to reach a certain level of price point, we need to execute at that level of experience every single time, and that we can really focus on.
What is your prime cost for a concept like that?
I mean, it's about the same. I mean, at the end of the day, your markup.
It's 60. You want to be below 60%, right?
What do you mean?
Prime cost?
Prime cost?
Yeah. Cost of goods and labor combined.
Yes. I mean, certainly the labor is much, much lower. Obviously, because we run, but considering like we have a 2-to-1 employee to guest ratio, right? I have 3 people working behind that bar and 6 guests. Yeah. So we have the chef, my chef partner, Chef Sane, and then we have our beverage director, and then we have our sous chef, our chef de cuisine kind of that is.
Are you there?
Not as much. There's no room for me. When we designed
You're a big guy.
Yeah, when we designed operationally, we designed the systems and everything. The chef and I came down, but no, I'm not there on a day-to-day basis. No,
Yeah.
I handle a lot of the marketing, and I handle the back end stuff, and our goal is to stay true to the vision, and I think that the important part about this is like you're talking about, and you said it perfectly, which was, the standard, right? But you have to understand that those things are arbitrary, right? Some days you win, some days you lose. It's based off, and when you say lose or gain, it's more of like relative to what your goals are,
right,
and how much you need to make off of this, or how much you want to make off of this. And ultimately it comes down to saying, well, what is our goal? And if our goal is to allow the guest experience to be better, or the best it could possibly be, then that has to be flexible. There has to be some movement there. If this, like for instance, we do these themed nights, jokingly, May the 4th comes up and we do a Star Wars themed night, which is part of my MO, which is to be whimsical and to not take ourselves too seriously. It's not something that I don't think the hospitality industry, no matter how nice or how fancy it needs to be, that we have to take ourselves too seriously. And so we have fun with that. And a lot of times those type of things, those dinners we kind of break even on, because we give people lightsabers and we buy all this kind of novelty glassware. We're just having fun,
right?
Just having fun for the sake of having fun. And I think that's important. And that's also hospitality, right? That's also like letting people have this experience that is truly like once in a lifetime type of thing, like that will resonate with certain people. I remember one of the guests that came to one of our Star Wars nights message and says, you don't understand how much this means to me. They had a Star Wars themed wedding. Like they're such huge fans, and this idea that they could experience this level of cuisine that had a really silly, Star Wars type of mentality, the underlying theme through it was just heavenly for them, right? And that's what we do this for, is this kind of life-changing moment. Like, I'm honestly not doing it for necessarily the people that eat like this all the time, that can afford this all the time, and this is their everyday kind of driver. Like, this is not, we love them, and I'm glad that they come in and eat there, but that's not as much of the person as much as the person that really comes in and kind of opens up their mind and literally goes, I'm going to come in and try some stuff that I've never tried. I'm going to really allow myself to be taken on whatever journey this person wants to take me on. And I think that person gets us more,
CK, this has been a lot of fun, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Anything I could have asked you that something that you wish we talked about or should have came to the conversation?
No, I think we need to hold each other accountable in this industry. I think that's something that what you're doing is fighting the good fight and spreading the word, right? And spreading these conversations out there, because here's the irony. We as industry professionals don't talk to each other.
Yeah.
When do we have time?
Right.
When's the last time I had a chance to break bread with some of my colleagues or my brothers at arms, right? These people that are doing the same thing I'm doing, months in between.
Yeah.
Months in between. 99% of the time we're at each other's restaurant, and we sat, and I'm in the front, they're in the back, and they're in the back, and I'm in the front, or vice versa, and we talk to each other in passing, and we don't get to share these tips, these ideas, these motivations, these thoughts, these inspirations. Adam, who's doing Good Work Austin, right? Who, shout out, you should have him. You should talk to him.
Heard that, Adam.
He's incredible. work that they're doing. It's literally called good work also. But he was one of the pioneers of trying to get this ball rolling right at the beginning of the pandemic. And we would have these 50 person Zoom calls of all restaurant owners and operators trying to navigate what in the world we're going to do.
Right.
In this,
we go further together.
What in the world's happening? We go
Yeah.
further together.
Yeah.
And so this type of opportunity doesn't happen as much.
Also, change comes from the inside out. Growth comes from the inside out. Think of a caterpillar.
Yes.
Builds its little cocoon, goes inward, and it emerges a butterfly. Like, if we're going to change the industry, it can't come from us pointing to the government and saying, do something about this.
Right.
It has to come from
Starts from
us
Yeah.
doing something about it.
And that analogy is even better because people don't even realize when that caterpillar goes into that cocoon, it turns into goop. Like it completely dissolves itself into like it breaks down completely. Yeah. And that is the situation that we're in. We have a breakdown of the systems that need to even be changed, of the way that you monetize things. I mean, there's this inspirational, I'll send you the link. I think it's in Alabama. This lady that has a restaurant that is free, right? That you just pay whatever you can pay.
Driving through Alabama.
Hey, I'll show you what literally, it's a community restaurant and then you just go in and pay what you can.
Is it a nonprofit?
No.
Okay, I love that. I think that's weird. Everybody who wants to do something good feels like they have to make it a nonprofit. Conscious capitalism is using capitalism to do good.
That's right.
It doesn't need to be. Profit's not bad. It's what you do with the profit.
And also, it's the profit over everything that's
Right.
bad. It's if you're successful and people love your product, you deserve every chance. You or get your flowers. Like I would love for you to have a bigger house and a nicer thing, and I'm doing this and a blah blah blah. It's all about that. It's fine. I'm not saying any of that is bad. I'm just saying that if you did that at the expense of your morals, of the people around you, of your customers, of your employees.
If you had to step on the backs of others to get to the top of that hill,
that's the problem. If you did it all right and you're super successful, man, high five. Like I'm all about that. But to me, like this, if we want to talk about this, is this connection is make it a point to connect with your colleagues and hold people accountable and make sure that the places that you're going you're being holding them accountable, and you hold them accountable with your dollars, but you also in your conversations and in your conversations with the people. Again, it doesn't have to be negative. I'm not talking about to go talk trash about people who don't do it. Search out the people who are doing it right and support them. It just takes that much longer to do that, just choose to do that, and to me, we as operators, we at Restaurant People, connect with your people who are fighting this fight with you. And this, call it fight, is so silly. It's like, but we talk about this as going to war. But to be able to sit here and who are in here doing this stuff day to day, look around, see who's next to you when you have a community thing that needs to happen. See who answers the call when you have a charity that somebody needs that needs some help, and you call, and who answers your phone call when they need you to come by and donate something or donate your time. These are the people in that. Again, you don't have to do any negative things. You don't have to go out and buy, bad Yelp reviews to me are so annoying and stuff like that, because you're attacking or putting people down. You don't need to do that. If you just
don't go back.
If you just lifted people up that you wanted to lift up, that will also show you who you need to support. You don't have to look at like who's the not worst. Right. Look at who becomes the best, and so for me, that's the only thing I wish we could have more time with, is I wish that we could find out how to, that after you leave, that Jason and I sit down and have a conversation together. That Evan and I sit down and have a conversation.
Jason joined the network. So I don't think I told you this. I don't go around telling all my guests about like what I'm working on. Like there's the podcast, but the purpose of the podcast is to be the research, is to establish the relationships, is to find out who to make an example of. I don't decide, you decide, and I follow up. And behind this all is Restaurant Unstoppable Network, where we come together and we have mentoring sessions where I go to different people where like you, my community, are paying it forward forward to restaurant owners or who can follow up and ask their questions. Workshops, the tools and experts who are the consultants are coming and giving focused conversations about how to do what they do really well. So mentoring sessions, workshops, expert sessions where it's like, okay, I know EOS, the entrepreneurial operating system, is something I'm doing. Profit First is something I'm doing. Like whatever I've learned, we're going to create reoccurring space so you can learn these biggest lessons too.
Love it.
Right? So that's what I'm trying to build. And hearing you, man, is really making me feel like I'm on the right path. So thank you for saying what you said.
Of course.
And sorry for the selfish plug, but
no, do it.
I'd love to have you a part of it too, man. Even if it was just to contribute in some way, I'd love to have you share your knowledge again. A couple questions. We're going to say goodbye. What is one thing about your business, a value, a process, a system that makes you truly unstoppable? And share with us.
I will say that I think that I am the core of my business is that I'm focused on the people right in front of me, whether that's my employee or the guest or the vendor or anything like that. And ultimately the root of hospitality is to make sure that you are connecting and taking care of these people. And I think that people, whether they believe it or not, there's so much noise out there and there's so much fake and there's so much artificial, manufactured, like connection that when it's real, it feels very real. And if you can be that, you'll find your audience.
Love that, man.
And that's what it is.
The mission statement is to change the world through inspiring, empowering, and transforming the industry. And I think we're going to do that by changing one owner at a time. So how have you personally transformed? How are you a better man today than the man you were when you got started?
I have refined the notion that working yourself to the bone until you are burnt is not the way to go. You are no good to anybody if you are empty. You're no good to your employees. You're no good to your family. You're no good to your business if you are burnt up. That's not what you're supposed to do. There is a perfect medium rare that you should be living in. You should be refined and perfected. And it's not that I'm scared of work, but this balance is what has gotten me to be a better person, and I think a more valuable member of the community at large, and as of the industry at large, is that you recognize that you are so much more value, not as a charred husk of a being after you've worked your butt off to get where you are, but to find some level of balance and to share and spread that work to people who are like-minded and to lift them up so that they can continue on the mission and this extension. I mean, literally, it's like we're not immortal except for our children. I mean, that is the only way that we continue this moving forward, right? Yeah. So this is the same thing with your business. Find who's going to take after you, who's going to see this beyond where you lay, and hope and remove the ego of yourself, meaning this, I'm the only one that can do this. It's like this next person might even do it better than I can. Yeah. And so let's empower that person and to let that person shine and give them their flowers,
Here's the last question.
Sure.
If you got the news, you'd be leaving this world tomorrow. All the memories of you, your work, and your restaurants would be lost with your departure, with the exception of 3 pieces of wisdom you could leave behind for the good of humanity and your legacy. What are those 3 pieces of wisdom?
Whew. All right. It's not that serious.
One.
It's not that serious. Do I need to elaborate?
You don't have to.
Okay. It's not that serious. Life is supposed to be fun, Yep. Do take care of other people first.
2.
You won't have any time if you never take time.
3. This has been so much fun, CK. Who do you respect and admire? I found you. I asked Jason Carrier this question. Who do you respect and admire? He was quick to respond. CK. Who do you got?
Man, there's
so
many people that I look up to, man. In this, I want to keep it local because those people do deserve their flowers. Out of top of mind right now, I think my boy Tavel, with the Emmer and Rye Group, man. Tavel Bristol Joseph, pastry chef, and this is why I want to talk about him. Him and Kevin Finke, that whole team actually they are growing in a very exciting and fast way, and in a very inspirational way, right? They obviously, any small restaurateur seeing these people open up multiple venues and have this kind of stuff, and is great to see. But man, their moral compass that we talk about, their tenets of who they are as people, as far as I can tell, again, I haven't uncovered the onion down to the core yet, but man, I know Tavel, and if I speak about him alone, I don't know their whole organization, but man, I know him. He's pure, man. And it's just one of those things that to operate at that level, at that scale, at that size of growth, and still be so true to himself and who he is, man, is super inspirational.
That's why I love this question too, because I've heard of Emma and Ryan, I've heard of Kevin Fink, right? But like, what about everybody else?
Yeah.
You know, and like Kevin Fink is where he is because of the people he surrounded himself with. So what about those people? Like,
and Kevin's, and they're
I've
all
heard
they're really all
nothing
shit.
speaking shit
But
about
it's just
Kevin,
personally, he and I related on a music level. I think from us, we have very similar taste in music. I played, mostly old school hip hop here at all my restaurants. Actually, it's pretty much I play nothing but old school hip hop. But so he and I related on that level a lot of times. I think that's probably where that was the barrier to entry to our friendship. But man, he's the shit.
We can't say goodbye without letting our listeners know if we want to connect with you, and you do offer consulting.
Yeah.
So if we want to work with you, maybe just tell us a little bit more about your practice and what you focus on, and why we would want to reach out to you specifically.
Sure. So I started consulting out of necessity, during the pandemic. People were reaching out to me asking how.
I was in 2001.
Yeah, I still have that business card from 2001 though. I've had my phone number since then, so it's interesting. I could still use it today if I wanted to.
Nice.
The pandemic created a lot of distress in the industry, and a lot of people that were struggling, trying to get back on and trying to streamline or recognizes kind of where the leaks, where the cracks may be. And so I had a lot of people kind of reach out for helping, and it got to the point where there's a couple of those people, and again, the people I'm just ironically just again helping people first. It was people that I was like helping out, and I didn't even think about charging anybody or any sort of monetary compensation. And then some of these people were like, look, man, it's like, I need to pay you for your time. I appreciate it. And then I talked to a few of my other friends who were doing consulting at the time, and I kind of floated the idea. And so that's how it kind of got started on a lower level. What it happens and where I'm really living in and enjoying right now is less, I don't like restaurant rescue, right? It's hard for me to find something or someone in duress, and because I'm pretty hard nosed with like in what my opinion would be to something to fix it, right? And sometimes those problems are very difficult to fix. It might be conceptual, it might be undercapitalization, it might be very tough. What I've found is that there's a lot of people in this world who want to break into this industry who might not have the skill set of this operational skill set, or like you said, the visionary versus the person who has the how. And me being connected to those people I've seen a lot of benefit and a lot of growth, and that's super rewarding to me, is to have somebody who might recognize that, hey, I'm an incredible chef, but I know nothing about opening a business, or I don't know how to run a P&L or look at a P&L, or I don't know how to operate my restaurant at a profitability
organizational
chart. They don't know these things, or how to market or anything like that. Communicate. And so that to me has been a an evolutionary progression of my work, because I don't want to say I've run out, but my passion projects kind of already happened, and I'm now I'm working on another small micro concept that's kind of like Toshokan, but not. I'm working on a dance studio for my wife and I, a movement studio, something, because she was a dancer her whole life. And so her passion is that. And I would love to see our children grow up in something that their mother is passionate about. And that's when we're working on that together. I've got this art park for children, art camp, art camps for children, these things, legacy things. And so these are things. And so if this person is very passionate about opening up their restaurant, doesn't know how, like, I will always take that phone call. I'll always take that coffee. And then after that conversation, if I can be of any service to them and assistance, that's when we talk. But man, I have hundreds of first coffee consultation hour-long conversations for free.
So I would love to host a Zoom with you. If anybody's listening to this and they want to meet you and ask questions, and if you want to lead a mentoring session, I'd love to have you back. Or maybe there's a specific topic that you want to dive deep into. Like if you ever want to come on my platform's your platform, man, I'd love to share it with you. And how can we connect with you if we already know we want to work with you?
Yeah. Everything on everything is at CKChin, SEEKAYCHIN. I grew up again in pre-internet days where you wouldn't let me have 2 letters as an email address, so I had to spell out the word CK, and it's just stuck. So everything is at CKChin, Twitter, X, whatever, everything.
I love it. Head over to Restaurant Unstoppable. Actually, just go to the show notes on your iTunes or Spotify. If you want to find the episode, we'll have links to how to connect with him there, CK there. And just thank you so much, man. I literally cannot do what I do without people like you being willing to get open, being willing to get vulnerable, to share, to pay it forward. And there is no questioning. You are unstoppable.
Appreciate that, man. You too.
Cheers.
Cheers.